Hello YouTube. Welcome to my channel, which I have renamed. I did call it the Bubba Continuum, but I thought about it and I thought I should give it a better name. So now I call it Baspropithecus. And there's a reason for that. It's kind of a sad reason. It's really because people on the political right and people who are Christians are now treated as like subhumans. We're being demonized by people on the left, and it's really reached a critical point. The other day I saw an article on Yahoo News, and it said, "Look at all these hilarious memes that people have put up." I think it was about Trump supporters or about something like that. And these memes, one meme was just a picture of a Popeyes restaurant, and it was actually a picture of they have little decorative balconies on these restaurants that don't do anything. They don't have any doors. You can't go out on the balcony. And one was a picture of a Popeyes restaurant, and that was supposed to be unbelievably funny. And another one was a picture of some kind of computer map, like Google Maps or something, a little section of a map, and it was a little suburban area, and there were restaurants there like Chick-fil-A and Applebee's, and I may be getting the restaurants wrong, but there was a Cracker Barrel there. I remember that for sure, and that was funny. You know, it was hilarious that there was a place where the residents would want to go to Cracker Barrel. They thought that was just all by itself. That was funny. There was no clever text, you know. So there's a lot of stuff like that. One picture was really confusing. It was the photograph of an IMAX theater, the interior of an IMAX theater. So I guess IMAX is associated with simple-minded people, which is weird because it started, I believe, in New York. So it was just stuff like that. I mean, this was supposed to be unbelievably funny, and it showed the elitism of the left, the snobbery. They think that if you go to Applebee's once in a while, that you're like a monkey, you know, that you're not quite human, and it shouldn't have to be explained to anybody because it's obvious. So I thought I'm going to call myself Baspropithecus because that's the species I belong to. People who think Bass Pro is a great store. I should have worn my Bass Pro hat instead of my hat from Lucerne, Switzerland. They need to build a Bass Pro there. So, welcome to Baspropithecus. I hope you think that's funny, because I do. I haven't created a video in a very long time. I don't have any audience anyway, but there's a few people to watch. Life has really... First of all, I was a little discouraged, you know, because I put these videos out. Virtually no one watches them, and the world keeps disintegrating around us. The people on the left have this crystal-knocked attitude now. You know, I used the word demonize a minute ago. I guess I'm going to digress. Conservatives and Christians have been complaining for a long time that we've been demonized, and people on the left have made fun of us for that because they say we're paranoid, and they try to call us snowflakes, although you can't be a conservative snowflake. That's a term that conservatives made up. So they made fun of us for saying that we've been demonized. And the other day, Tim Walz, the soon-to-be permanently retired governor of Minnesota, a guy who has no political future, bitter guy, he said we should demonize people like Elon Musk. He literally used the word demonize, that they should be demonized. And it's just a startling thing to see things. I use the word Kristallnacht. Everybody knows what Kristallnacht was. It was a night when Germans and Austrians went out and broke the windows of Jewish businesses. Kristallnacht means crystal night, or glass night, I guess. I guess crystal is the same thing as glass in German. I don't know. So Kristallnacht. They went out and vandalized these Jewish businesses. I'm sure they probably hurt people. I don't really remember. And it was approved by the German government. And the idea was these Jews are less than human. They're parasites, and they're gonna continue doing. They've done great harm to our country, and they're going to continue. So let's go out and show them what we think of them, because they're not the same species. And the Germans literally had diagrams and things that people who called themselves scientists and who were not created. And you can actually look these things up on the internet. It'll have a picture of a German with this wonderful rectangular head, you know, with the blonde hair and the blue eyes, and it'll have these measurements written on it. You know, it's this far from the tip of the nose to the ear vertically and stuff like that. And then they showed the Jew, and this Jew is this thing that looks like it looks like a rat or a monkey or something. It's barely human, and there are all these measurements on it showing this is the difference. This proves that they're not as good as we are. So what they're doing to us now is a lot like that. They're trying to say, number one, that they're victims, and number two, that we're not quite human. And if you put those things together, they excuse in their minds any type of cruelty, anything they do to us. And that's literally what happened in Germany to the Jews. They were seen as subhuman. They were seen as dangerous. And so the Germans said to themselves, these people have victimized us. We're not going to take it anymore. We're going to strike back. And they felt that what they did was righteous, because if you're the offended party, then you have the right to strike back. So I've been discouraged about talking and writing because we're still on the same downward path. People are all excited because Trump got elected. I couldn't believe it when he got elected. It was such a wonderful thing because it helps. It does help temporarily. People got all excited and they thought, and they're out there now. They're gloating and they're saying, "Ha ha, we showed you, and now we're going to take over." And America's on its way back and all this stuff. But they said the same things in 2017, and none of those things happened. So it's nice that God has been gracious and He's given us another 4 years with someone on our side. But we're still. Kamala Harris lost by what, 1.5 percentage points or something like that, some tiny amount. I mean, the fact that half of America thinks that a person like that is fit to be president and that their philosophy is acceptable, it demonstrates that this country is washed up. I mean, people like that, they should be in like they should be 2-3% of the population, the total freaks, the fringe nuts, and they're not like that. They ran the White House for 12 years, so that's why I haven't been back. And also, I've been busy because my wife had a son. That sounds like it wasn't mine. It was mine. Trust me, it has my hands. That's about all it has. It looks like me because my wife is from Zambia, and she is actually truly totally black. I mean, a lot of people in America think they're black and they're really not, but she is. So we got this kid now, and he's wonderful. He's absolutely fantastic. I was never the kind of person who cared about babies or kids. I'm not really interested in being around other people's kids. And if you show me your baby, I'll be a little more interested in it than I would have been 6 months ago. But I'm still not that kind of person. And frankly, men who like hanging around other people's kids should be viewed with suspicion, and you should not let them out of your sight. Anyway, I thought to myself before he came along, I thought, what if I'm distant with my own son? And then I thought, well, of course you won't be, because he'll be your son. And I was right. So things are great. He lives in a house of love. And we pray for him, and we play with him, and we talk to him, and we're educating him with his little weird toys that are supposed to make them smart. He's just a blast, and he's really cute. I know parents always say that, but they're not always telling the truth. And when your kid is cute when other people can't leave him alone. Okay, and that's the situation we had. We were in the hospital, and the nurses wanted to steal him, and they couldn't stay away from him, and they gave us all kinds of free stuff because they liked him. So he was blessed. I mean, he had a good first few months, because a lot of kids don't start out looking that great. You just kind of have to say to yourself, well, it's a baby, so I'm going to be nice to it. You don't really feel the same. Maybe you want to help it. You feel sorry for it, but or some kids are so ugly they're cute. But he was cute. He was legitimately really, really cute, and he still is. So he's just a blast to be around. So that's happening. We've been unbelievably busy. This is my first child and her first child. I'm old. I didn't expect to have a child, and here God gives me a child. So it was really tough at first, because every hour, somewhere, there's intervals of like 1 to 3 hours. 3 hours would be a really long interval of downtime when you have a newborn, and 1 hour would not be out of it. It wouldn't be outrageous for it to be that short. You're changing diapers, you're getting bottles, you're constantly awake, so it was pretty tough. And we made the mistake of choosing formula. Not we, my wife. My wife was kind of out of her mind. Women go nuts when they have babies. All sorts of hormones go through them. and they get very, very overprotective. And she was terrified that he was not going to breastfeed correctly. And that's really, you really shouldn't pay attention in a situation like that to minor difficulties with breastfeeding, because the baby's not going to starve. They have a lot of, apparently they have special fat that keeps them alive. And it takes a couple of days, something like up to 5 days for the milk to really get going. So a couple of rough days, that's normal. But the nurses couldn't convince my wife of that. So she started him on formula, which is like poison. And it spoiled him. He got to the point where he preferred the bottle to his mother. And it was very tough to get him to breastfeed. And we still have some issues with that, although now things are working out well. So we got him off the formula finally. I guess we got him off formula 100% by the time he was about 6 weeks old, or maybe a little older than that. And I don't know. Things are going great. Things are going fantastic. Sometimes I get to sleep an entire night, which is amazing. My wife is getting to sleep more than she used to. And I wanted to say about the formula. I guess I'm going to digress a lot. I can't make a short video. I learned that formula is a feminist thing. I didn't realize this. I thought it was a medical thing. You know, I thought doctors got together and said, some women don't produce a lot of milk or whatever, so we need to produce an alternative. And that's what they did, and everything was great. And I found out that's not actually true. Feminists are always trying to level the playing field. They think we're supposed to be able to do everything men do without exception, with the same lack of consequences. What they think would be lack of consequences. There's plenty of consequences in your life if you're a man, but you can't tell them that because they think we're privileged. Anyway, they want to be promiscuous without consequences. They want to have jobs that take up a great deal of their time without consequences. But at the same time, they want to be women and have babies and raise them, which doesn't really work. I mean, there's so many lies that are told to women. One of the lies is you can wait till you're 35 or 40 and have children. Well, what they don't tell people is that your fertility, if you're a woman, plummets after the age of 30. Not 45, not 40, 30. So at 30 years old, the eggs start to pop. So it's really a bad idea to wait until you're 30 to try to have kids, because if you want to have like 2 or 3 kids, you need to be getting started when you're like 23. You're going to have, you don't know how long it's going to take to get pregnant. You don't know if you're going to have miscarriages. So my mother was 29 when she had me, and she got started when she was 26. And she had 2 miscarriages. First she had my sister, and then she had 2 miscarriages, and then she had me. And so you don't want to play around. If you're a woman, get started in your 20s. You know, don't fall for the nonsense. One of the other lies they say is that formula is just as good as milk, and it's not. It kills babies. And you're not supposed to say that. If you say that on the internet, people say, oh, no, that's not true. It doesn't kill anybody. Well, I'll tell you something they say about milk. They say milk contains antibodies, and antibodies prevent serious diseases. And if you look at the list of diseases, some of those diseases kill. Not invariably, but they are diseases that kill babies sometimes. So it's very obvious formula must be killing babies. If they're depriving children of antibodies, and those antibodies protect babies in some cases from fatal diseases, then yeah, it's killing babies. So if you're a baby and you're on formula, you're not getting the antibodies, you're not getting the same bonding with your mother, and your mother will have problems too. It'll take her longer to get back to, no, I'm sorry, it'll take her longer. My understanding is it takes her longer to get back to her normal weight. I don't know. There's a lot of issues with it. I didn't know any of these things. I thought it was a totally politically neutral substance, this formula. I went to a forum and I was asking people for advice, and they started getting really angry at me. I said something like, I think it'll help him to form a better bond with his mother, and if he has a good bond with his mother, then he'll appreciate women more when he's older. Because I had a wonderful relationship with my mother. She adored me when I was really small. And when I'm with women, well, my wife, when I'm with my wife, you know, the feelings that I have for her are very much like the feelings that I had for my mother when I was 3 years old. Nothing weird, but I mean the feelings of warmth and love and so forth. And I think that's probably true of most men who had good relationships with their mothers. And I said this, and these women on the forum got furious at me and started telling me what a horrible, sexist, hate-filled person I was and how I was spreading something called rage bait. I had to find out what rage bait is. And it turns out rage bait is anything that's true that you say to someone on the left that they don't like, because it brings out the rage, which is always bubbling under the surface. So anyway, don't give your kids formula unless you have no choice. I mean, if you've had a double mastectomy, well, yeah, go right ahead. But really, don't do it. Don't let them talk you into it. It's a horrible thing. One of the other problems with it is it's hard to digest. That's a problem that you have with it. I don't know. Look it up for yourself. So we had some trouble with that. But anyway, now things are going great. Everything's fantastic. He's a little bit ahead on his growth. I mean, he's doing well in the percentiles and all that. And he's starting to grab things, and he's starting to understand that he can do things with his hands. He's yelling less. He's learning to suck on his fingers and comfort himself instead of screaming for 2 hours straight when you leave the room. So everything's getting better. It really is. Oh, and speaking of screaming, I've seen a lot of people say that really young babies, like a month old, 2 months old, can't learn anything, so you should never let them cry. And I found out that's not true. They actually can learn. If a baby can be spoiled by a formula bottle, he can also be spoiled by picking him up over and over. And people say, oh, you can't spoil them, but which is not true. But they also say, doctors say, it's okay. They say it won't harm a baby to let it cry. So even if it were true that you couldn't spoil them, if you can't harm them by letting them cry, then you should let them cry once in a while, because every once in a while you got to take a bath. Every once in a while you got to go to the grocery store. You've got to mop the floors, whatever it is, whatever your responsibilities are, you got to do those things. And if you let this little object run your life, you're not going to sleep. You're not going to eat properly. You're going to have all kinds of problems. We eat badly enough as it is. I'm like, geez, I've gained weight. I've eaten so much garbage. I never used to eat much frozen food. I'm not a packaged food guy. I cook stuff from scratch. And then suddenly we had this baby, and then I found myself going into Walmart, and I would just go through the frozen food section, and it would say like microwave baked potatoes stuffed with marshmallow fluff with chocolate sauce and nuts on top. And I go, sounds great. And, fill the cart with it and go home and eat it. I mean, just stuff that I ordinarily would not want to feed to a convict. I've been eating frozen mozzarella sticks, tons of frozen pizza. I make my own pizza. I have no need for pizza ordinarily, but I don't know. It's been disgusting. It's something you really have to be. It can really be a problem during those first couple of months. So be smart. Don't be like us. Prepare. Try to come up with things that you can have around that are healthy and don't take too long to put together. So anyway, it's great. It's fantastic. I have this son, and things are spectacular. But now I'm back. I don't know. Maybe what I should do is cut this video into 2 parts, because it's gotten so long, and all I've talked about is how insane the leftists are, and how I've had this child. So maybe what I'll do is cut this off. There's not too much more to say about the baby. I can say he's going to have advantages that I never had, that my wife never had. Her parents died when she was very young, and she was raised by a stepmother. There really is such a thing as a wicked stepmother. And she was raised with stepbrothers and stepsisters, and she and her 2 natural sisters were neglected and treated badly. And they had no opportunities. And I'm saying no opportunities for Zambia, where they were. So I'm not saying it's like America, where your parents got you a used car when you were 15 or 16 instead of a new car. I mean, really, she had it rough. And my dad really hated God, hated Christianity. My mother loved me, really, really loved me, but she didn't pray with me. She did a very poor job of telling me about God. Took us to church like 3 times a year. Now we fought her about that. My sister and I fought her because we didn't want to go to church, because it was horrible. It wasn't what very good churches. The churches we went to weren't very good. But anyway, one month we'd be Catholic, the next month we'd be Episcopal, the month after that we'd be Baptist, and it was awful. That's the worst thing you can do for your kids within the realm of normal behavior is to fail to introduce them to Yeshua and the Holy Spirit. And my parents both did that. My father, he would either on Sundays No, on Sundays, on Saturday and Sunday, he would get up early and go to the golf course. That's what he did on the weekends. So we didn't see him. Um, I don't know. It's different. It's different. My wife and I, we speak blessing over the baby. I speak blessing over both of them. Um, we curse the spirits that are against him. We listen to Christian music with him. One of the things that is really neat about what's happening right now is that he's starting to understand music. And I finally, well, I was wondering, we played classical music for him and other types of music, trying to kind of wake him up. And he liked it and he would relax and so forth. But he didn't really react to it in a strong way. And it was disappointing. And finally, I found out what to do. One night he was screaming a lot. So I picked him up and I turned on the television, put it on YouTube, and I put on a playlist of Christian music. And I held him in my arms and I started bouncing him with the music so he could pick up the beat. And I was singing to him. And he went from being in a bad mood to being ecstatic. We went for like half an hour doing this. My arms were really tired. And I realized that's how you introduce kids to music. You don't put them down on the couch and turn on the music and go have coffee. So anyway, I guess I'm going a lot farther than I should. That's where I've been. I'm going to turn this off now, and I'm going to come back and make another video, and I'm going to talk about all the stuff that God has been showing me, because it's wonderful, the things God has shown me and how much better they make my life, and I would like other people to have these things. So I guess that's it for this video, and I'll be back in a second.